The vast majority of reviews and benchmarks that you will have seen on these new Alder Lake CPUs, including this i5-12600K, have been with top-shelf GPUs like RTX 3080s. In fact, even my reviews were all with an RTX 3080, but since no one bar Bezos and Musk can get their hands on one of those right now, well, I wanted to see how these chips stack up with a more, I guess, mid-tier card. I mean, I know they're still insanely expensive, but still, I thought it'd be worth taking a look. So let's test these two, the 5600X and the 12600K, with an RTX 3060 instead. Now, since the CPU-specific results won't be changing, especially since there is no new BIOS versions or anything like that, I'm just changing the GPU here. If you want to see how these two chips and a few others stack up against each other in things like Premiere and After Effects, Blender, and of course Cinebench, then you can check out their full reviews in the cards up above. But for now, I'm sticking with gaming and testing at both 1080p and 1440p here so that you can see, well, how they compare. I'm testing at what I would call reasonable settings in-game, rather than being just using the highest ultra presets, which often needlessly hurts performance for very little visual difference. I'm testing at the sort of settings that I would actually play at. So for CSGO, for example, that's with pretty much everything on low. With Watchdogs Legion, that's on medium. FORTNITE is on high. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is on high as well. Microsoft Flight is also on medium, and Cyberpunk is on medium but with high textures. I've disabled DLSS in the games that support it, although if you would like to see some more testing with that enabled, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. Okay, let's get to the results. Let's start with the oldest game here, which is CSGO. On low settings, at 1080p, the 5600X actually takes the lead here, with over 20% more performance on average, netting 536 FPS average, up from 441 FPS on the i5. That's the same pattern I saw in my review, testing both with the i9 and i5, and in that case, even the 1% low numbers are around 5% up over the i5 as well. At 1440p, it's a similar gap, this time more like 18% faster, but still netting over 500 FPS average versus 430, and again significantly improved 1% low numbers as well. Watchdogs Legion swings the other way in the 12900K's favour, netting 119 FPS average at 1080p, up from 107 on the 5600X. The 1% lows are also up, at 94 FPS on the i5 and 80 FPS on the Ryzen 5. Unsurprisingly, at 1440p, there is much less of a difference, just 2 FPS between them, with the i5 still technically just about holding the lead. In Cyberpunk, at 1080p, the i5 holds around a 7% lead, averaging 94 FPS instead of the 88 that the 5600X runs at. That's a pretty close call. Still a win for Intel here, rather obviously, but it would be pretty hard to notice that average difference in games. That is, if the 1% low figures weren't quite as different as they are. The Ryzen 5 nets just under 60 FPS here, whereas the i5 runs more like 73. Of course, that's hardly game-breaking, but it is around a 25% advantage for Intel there. Interestingly, at 1440p though, the 5600X actually takes the lead, but really I would call that within margin of error, as it's just a 2 FPS difference, and the 1% lows are equally tied, although technically speaking the i5 is the one in the lead there. FORTNITE shows very little difference between the two chips, both on, well, obviously high settings, but at 1080p or at 1440p. The gap is really only 1 or 2 FPS across both resolutions, and both at average and in the 1% lows. Technically, the i5 is in the lead here on all counts, but again, with such a marginal difference, I can pretty much guarantee you will not feel or see that difference in game at all. Microsoft Flight is really neck and neck for both 1080p and 1440p, and on average, and in the 1% lows, with Ryzen taking the win at 1080p by a single FPS average, and Intel ahead by 2 FPS at 1440p. I think it's fair to say that, much like Fortnite, no matter which chip you play on here, you're going to have a pretty decent time and you won't be able to tell the difference between them, and certainly in Microsoft Flight, I think you're definitely more GPU bound than anything else. And actually, speaking of GPU bound, I've added Shadow of the Tomb Raider to my benchmark list now so that I can show you those results. Both at 1080p and 1440p, both chips scored literally identically, at least in their final FPS figures, the actual displayed frame rates. The Shadow of the Tomb Raider benchmark, though, actually shows a load more information than you would normally get from even just running benchmarks manually, or even most in-game benchmarks. So I want to talk about a couple of the figures that they show there. Specifically, it lists how GPU bound your run was, which for both chips, at 1080p it was 99%, and at 1440p it was 100%. But it also gives you a little table of the minimum, maximum, average, and 95% figures for both the CPU game, CPU render, and GPU during the run. And if we plot those, the CPU render results, you'll see that the i5 offers significantly more performance. It's consistently around 23% faster on all counts here, smashing past 300 FPS average on both 1080p and 1440p, whereas the 5600X is more like 250 FPS. Of course, that's not an insane difference, but it shows the raw performance that the i5 can offer, even if that doesn't always translate into any difference in your playing experience. At this point, I think it's worth mentioning or making it clear that all of these results were captured on Windows 10, with the most recent BIOS version, which for this Asus Z690 formula board with the Corsair DDR5 is 0702. And I was running this Corsair DDR5 but without XMP enabled, as I seem to have a bug in the BIOS, or maybe even with the microcode in the chip, that means when I enable both the memory frequency and timings at the same time, I get less performance. And probably more importantly than anything, I had to disable all 4 of the E or efficiency cores in the BIOS. That was for one very good reason, which is that there is a collection of games with various anti-cheat and DRM solutions that flat out refuse to run with the E cores active. In my testing, that was Watchdogs Legion. It would show the little splash screen that it was starting up. Sometimes it would even get to the point where it displays a black screen, but then it would close with no error messages. After trying literally everything, all the way up to uninstalling both the game and Ubisoft Connect, deleting every trace of them that I can find in every possible folder and registry, and then reinstalling them both from scratch, nothing worked. But then I disabled the E-cores, and as if by magic, it ran just fine. That is something that you might want to consider if you're planning on getting one of these new Alder Lake chips. With that said, on the whole, the i5 should be faster. It should be the faster chip of these two. That's very nicely illustrated in Tomb Raider's sort of extra numbers. But in practice, at least in these games, in my testing and with this RTX 3060, it's actually slightly slower than the 5600X when paired with that 3060. In fact, if you average every 1080p average FPS results the i5 and Ryzen 5 each got, you find that the Ryzen chip is around 7% faster and 8% faster at 1440p, mostly thanks to the CSGO numbers. Only when you look at the 1% low numbers do you find that the i5 comes out on top at around 4% higher. That should lead to a more stable gaming experience, but we are talking about a 4 FPS averaged difference here, so that's hardly substantial. It's also pretty clear that the GPU bottleneck is clearly a very significant factor here. If the i5 has up to 25% more performance, raw performance, like Tomb Raider shows, but the GPU has nothing more to give, even at 1080p, then clearly that is the bottleneck there, and even this i5 is plenty fast enough to handle this level of GPU. And actually, from a lot of the testing that I did with the 3080 and the original reviews, it seems like this chip is, again, arguably plenty fast enough for even that sort of card. So it seems to be a relatively small improvement, even if the raw horsepower that the chip has a sort of lot more to offer. On top of that, at least once the bugs get ironed out with the P and E cores and those different games and DRM solutions, it's worth noting that you will have 4 extra, admittedly low power cores available to you in this i5 compared to the Ryzen 5, which means if you want to be, running videos in the back, like playing videos on your second screen while gaming, if you want to be streaming or just running your operating system, those cores, at least in theory, should be able to handle those tasks while still leaving all of the performance that the 6 main cores have to offer on the table for your game. Of course, that implies that, again, the Ryzen chip with its 6 cores and 12 threads doesn't have any headroom left. I'm fairly certain that it does, but again, it's an advantage you might want to consider. Unfortunately, that's an advantage that you're gonna have to pay for. And yes, the chips themselves are clearly very similarly, if not the same priced. In fact, the CPU itself in the UK on Overclocked UK is actually £10 less than the 5600X on sale, although at many other outlets it's generally the same price, or the 2600K is a little bit higher, a little bit more expensive. But there's a kind of catch to that. You will need a Z690 motherboard to use that chip, which will currently set you back at least £200 for a reasonable DDR4 board, versus more like, let's say, 120 to 150 for a B550 board. You might also need a better CPU cooler too, plus if you want DDR5, well, currently good luck finding any, but if you can, it's likely going to be almost triple the cost of DDR4. If you compare the cost of the RAM, CPU and motherboard I specifically used here, which to make it clear is not a fair comparison because I did not use the same class of board, but the price difference there for the AMD parts would come to around £550, but the Intel one is more like £1,200. And even with a much cheaper motherboard, you're still looking at more like £800 instead of that $550, so it's well worth keeping that in mind, at least until the B660 boards are available, which will hopefully be a lot cheaper, although will likely still be locked, meaning you can't do any overclocking with your K-SKU CPU, or perhaps a locked chip like the, I suppose, what would it be, 12400 or 12500 are available, and then that might be a better option overall. But as it stands, even though the i5 is clearly has more raw horsepower, the realized gains, as it were, aren't quite all that big, but the price difference for your total build definitely is. With that said, those are my thoughts on the results, but I would love to hear your thoughts in those comments down below. What do you think of the 12600K and the comparison to the 5600X? Which one would you pick up? Which one have you picked up if you have? And what do you think about the Alder Lake sort of new platform and the bugs that have come with it? I'm actually really surprised there hasn't been a new BIOS version available for this any of the Asus boards as of yet, which I'm quite surprised to see. But anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts in those comments down below. I will leave some links to both the CPUs and some motherboards and RAM in the description down below. Can't guarantee that you'll find especially the RAM, but there'll be links down there for you. Those are Amazon affiliate links that will take you to your local Amazon store. We can see pricing when and where you watch this and maybe pick one up yourself if you fancy and if they're in stock. Otherwise, there is a whole load of links in the description you can check out if you want to support the channel. You can also just hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification icon, or support directly through YouTube itself with the YouTube join button, where you get access to our Money Men Discord chat, sponsor-free videos, and some extra road noise for good measure. Otherwise, that is kind of it from me. If you want to pick up a hoodie or t-shirt like this one, you can support on Patreon instead. There's, like I said, a load of other links in the description, places like Overclocked UK affiliate links, so you're buying from there, and I'll leave plenty more videos on the end cards, including the 12600K review, so you can check that one out if you fancy. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next video.